those of you who don't know, I've covered Tyson Fury over a number of years, and that's what this conversation is going to be about. It's Tyson Fury's comeback. He's announced a deal with promoter Frank Warren, and June the 9th is the scheduled date for Tyson's return. And whilst a lot of people are excited at the comeback of Tyson Fury and the much required or needed extra character within the heavyweight landscape and what Tyson's achieved against Klitschko and him being considered the king, and the fact that he got his titles stripped and taken off him. Since then, Parker's had the title, Mine's had a title, Joshua's now collected most of the titles. Just one title's outstanding, but there's the WBA regular out there with no more shot. No one really cares about. Now, if you've listened to any of my videos previously, I've always been trying to be as calm and as balanced as possible when talking about Tyson Fury. Don't talk much about him on the channel at the moment. What I haven't done until I said until there was something solid in place. Now we know June the 9th he's coming back. We don't know who he's fighting yet. There's been rumors of him potentially fighting Pulev. There's a potential of him fighting who was the other guy who's going to fight? Shannon Briggs. There's been all sorts of rumors flying around. And we need to separate, in my mind, my personal opinion, we need to separate the guy that won the World Heavyweight Championship almost 3 years ago and had spectacularly, just from World Heavyweight Champion to titles being ripped from him, from being banned from boxing or suspended from boxing, to the guy we're looking at the moment. Yes, he may have lost a tremendous amount of weight, and congratulations for Tyson for getting himself back down to, you know, a respectable weight, and you know, he looks healthy and well, and that's great. But I urge just a bit of caution here. There are people out there who are at giddy heights that believe that Tyson Fury is going to come back, fight one fight, and then become undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Well, the fact of the matter is Tyson was never undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Even when Tyson was champion, Deontay Wilder was WBC champion. To think that out a second, Deontay Wilder has been WBC champion before Tyson Fury became world heavyweight champion, unified champion. So Deontay Wilder's been around quite a while now as a defending champion. Say what you want about him. The other person that's around is Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua, say what you want about him, but between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, these two guys have been pretty active. Pretty active. They may not have fought one another, but they've been pretty active. Tyson, on the other hand, hasn't been active. And that gap that would have been between Fury and Joshua, and the ability of Joshua to beat Fury when he became world heavyweight champion, and 3 years on, that gap in my mind has closed significantly. Fury hasn't been in the ring for 3 years. You can do all the sparring you want. He now needs to prove it under the lights. All these years of coming into camp, blowing up overweight, and then getting into camp, and then losing all that weight and getting yourself into shape. We've seen it with the best of fighters. Eventually that catches up with you, and you grow old almost overnight. But you're just not looking after your body. The question remains, despite Tyson being in great shape and physically looking great, actually, how much does he have left? Oh, he's a young man. Well, you can say he's a young man if he's looked after himself, but he may be 27 with a 38-year-old body. I don't know all those nights of partying when he went into depression and all the stuff that was going on when he didn't think he'd ever box again. Do you know what time? How he was looking after his body. We do know Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua have been looking after their bodies. and they have been fighting consistently, and boxing is about consistency. Now, there's a few things you need to look into and think, okay. When Tyson spoke to me, I remember him having a conversation about loyalty. I think it was the first or second interview we did. And he talked about loyalty and how all the top fighters left McHenry. Well, looks like Tyson's gone and done it himself now. He's gone and left and went to Frank Warren. Interesting, he's gone and signed with Frank Warren and not Eddie Hearn. If you were to sign with Eddie Hearn, the Joshua and him fight could move close real quickly. But with Frank Warren, and with him being managed by Frank Warren, but being promoted by Frank Warren now, that then becomes a bit of a sticking point. Fury versus Joshua, Box Nation and Sky Sports, Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. That becomes a promotional. Well, it just there's a lot of problems there. So, smart move by Tyson not to go with Eddie Hearn and to go with Frank Warren. And in that time, during that time, I don't know how many fights Tyson's going to have before he thinks that he's ready to fight the elite in the world. That might not be until 2019, because all the words that were coming out of Tyson's mouth, I haven't seen the press conference, by the way, all the things that were coming out of Tyson's mouth were like, well, I'm coming back, but, I'll take my time when I come back. I'm not going to get forced into fights. But Tyson's one of these guys who'll say one thing one day and then do something the next day. Tyson turned and said, I'll fight Anthony Joshua now, and I can fight a bodybuilder, and I don't need to be in shape to fight a bodybuilder. Okay. Then you hear Tyson say, well, I need some fights. I want to ease myself back into boxing. So which one is it? You just don't know what angle or what bed Tyson's going to get out of, or what season Tyson's in. You just don't know. You could say one thing 1 minute and one thing the next, which is great because you're unpredictable. But the thing about it that is a problem is because you're not consistent. You're not consistent one way or the other. So we can't read you, and you don't even know what you're going to do. So you don't know what you're going to do, and I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to always be an enigma even to your own self. So with that, you just don't know. You just don't know. Tyson's crazy enough to take a fight with Joshua like that. He's crazy enough to do something like that. But he's also smart enough to say, you know what, I'll take my time and build the money up. So we just don't know how bad Tyson's financial situation is as well, since 3 years of not working and not fighting, how much that's affected his bank balance. And if that has anything to do with how he's going to be moving and boxing, we can have money in the bank, that's fine. But he may have in his mind set, look, this is what I wanted to make over the 3 years, and he didn't make it. So I'm not saying Tyson's broke or anything like that, but of course, certain finance, so you want to get out a certain time of boxing, this is the amount of money I want to make, and Tyson's always had a bittersweet relationship with the sport. He's always said, I can retire tomorrow and go in a caravan and do things the old school way. But he seems to revel in the media, and at other times he seems like not want to be in the media. So you never quite know what's going to happen with Tyson. And at this point, you just don't know what sort of performance Tyson's going to put on when he comes back. And if he comes back against somebody who we expect him to be, and he blows him out in a couple of rounds, we're still not going to know how good Tyson is. So will we know how good Tyson Fury is? I mean, if he just dances away around a complete plodder that nobody heard of, then great. Then people say, well, yeah, Tyson's back, but that doesn't answer any questions. We won't really know until he fights somebody in the top 5 in the world, or the top 10, really a top 10 fighter. We won't really know what Tyson Fury's got left, and that's so important, because people seem to be stuck back in the time when he won the world title. I think that guy is going to show up in the future. Now, I'm not sure if that guy is going to show up in the future, because there are a lot of dynamics that changed. Like I said, I talked about early on the physical effects on his body, coming out, blowing up in weight, and then coming down to weight. Those things are a concern. The mental state of Tyson, where is he at? He can be here today, gone tomorrow. That's another thing. The third thing, and then people seem to be taking things to the extreme here. Tyson was a good fighter. But you got to remember, Before he fought Klitschko, there were many people, many people. He was uncoordinated. He was going to get knocked out in 2 rounds by Klitschko. He was useless. He was this. He was that. People making fun of Tyson where he punched himself in his face. He got dropped by Steve Cunningham. He got dropped by Nevin Pajcek. You know, all these things. And none of these guys hit as hard as Joshua or Wilder. And while you talk about the effect and the great stuff he did against Klitschko, that's Vladimir Klitschko. Both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, the 2 belt holders and 2 best heavyweights in the world outside of Alexander Povetkin. Those 2 guys are considered big punchers. Deontay Wilder, in my mind, is the biggest puncher in the heavyweight division, bar none. You know, and if you're getting dropped by Cunningham, we say, oh well, he got dropped, he got put down, he got back up. Okay. Still went down, got back up and finished the job. Mind you, I was one of those guys who backed him to beat the likes, to beat Klitschko, but I thought he struggled with guys who were shorter and were able to chuck the overhand right. That's why he got dropped twice by guys shorter than him. The times Tyson has been dropped in his career, he's been dropped by guys while he's been mucking about and playing around, which comes into the next dimension or the next issue. His trainer, the current trainer that he's got, what sort of relationship does he have between him and his trainer? Is it a situation where he tells his trainer how things are going to run, or is it a case of his trainer tells him what to do? Because it's going to take a certain type of trainer to keep Tyson focused, not just outside the ring, but inside the ring. And whereas you may get away with it in your first couple of fights, when you're back at the world level, the elite fighters, then there's a problem. Now I've always suspected that Tyson Fury, once he left Peter Fury, and I got that feeling when people were telling me he's not going to leave Peter Fury, when he left camp, switched camps, and he went with Peter Fury, left Peter Fury, and he went to this guy Ben Davison. I was always in the belief that he was going to get himself into a certain amount of shape, and then he was going to join with Dominic Ingle, because realistically, Dominic Ingle would be the best, or the Ingle camp would be the best for Tyson Fury if he decides to continue with the hands behind the back and using this very fluid movement. If he can still do that stuff. No, I'm not saying he can't do that stuff, but if he can't do that stuff, that won't work. Well, obviously, if he can do the stuff, then great, brilliant. Footwork, Tyson's got good footwork. He's got decent footwork, decent hand speed. He's able to move around the ring. Ambidextrous, can box from southpaw to orthodox. Those are the things that make Tyson Fury what he is. But let's not sell Tyson Fury to be something that he's not. He had a great win against Klitschko. Again, I go back to my point that Wilder and Joshua, meaning both guys are not mentally scarred. Both guys haven't been knocked out. Both guys haven't, are full of life and fresh and young and hungry champions. They're not guys who've been on the road for many years, and these guys are dynamic fighters, and they both want to prove that they're the best in the world, in Wilder and Joshua. And the advantages Tyson had coming into the fight against Klitschko with his mental, flaws. Will Tyson get the same sort of room or the same sort of opportunities like he did against Klitschko, where a guy who was old and coming to the end of his career? We saw that when he was fighting Jennings, coming to the end of his career, as opposed to somebody like Wilder or Joshua, who are in the primes of their career. It's a different situation. Now, Tyson could do that against a Joshua or a Wilder. We now have, we can relook and say the king is back. He used to beat a Joshua or a Wilder, or he beats both of them. The king is back. But to say the king is back in title, in an idea from when he beat Klitschko. Yes, I agree he hasn't been beaten in the ring, but that doesn't mean he's unbeatable because he hasn't been in that ring. We just don't know how good Tyson Fury really is in this era. Not the era when he beat Klitschko, and that was 3 years ago. It's in this era. So I want to see for myself what Tyson brings to the table between now and 2019. and how it's going to work with him and Frank Warren. Is Warren going to rush him into big fights, or is he going to just take his time, ticking over? So we don't see anyone really big with Tyson until 2019. So, you know, I want to know who the opponent's going to be. Then does he make it to the ring? That he's not injured, or the opponent doesn't get injured, or the opponent pulls out, or the card doesn't fall apart. We know that Box Nation of cards have fallen apart beforehand. I'm not saying something that hasn't happened before. So there's always a possibility that could happen as well. So we just don't know. We really don't know. We were looking forward to seeing Murray and Saunders. We know what happened there. One of the fighters got injured, so that card had to get. So, you know, that's the thing. So there's lots of things to consider. I'm happy to have Tyson Fury back, but let us not get so excited to the point where we are, you know, talking things that are not real. He's just going to come back after 3 years and he's going to be world heavyweight champion by the end of the year. Well, I don't know about that. But, you know, I said he's crazy enough to do it. But whether he'll actually do it with good advisors, he might say, you know what, let me get myself back. Let me see what I've got left. You need to be in the ring and fighting consistently. And that's what Tyson's been doing. He's been fighting consistently. Do you know what I mean? And if he knocks a guy out in the first round, he comes back, that doesn't prove anything. And he fights the second guy, knocks him out in 2 rounds, that doesn't prove anything. Because we need to know if he can go the distance again. You know, if he's able to fight 12 rounds under this new trainer, and if there's difficulties, he can work it out. Because he doesn't know what he's got with his trainer. It's all right talking and sparring, but in a big fight, that's when he's going to know whether his relationship with his trainer, Ben Davidson, or if he goes to Dominic Ingle, is going to work. You know, nobody knows. We just have to wait and see. But again, great for Tyson to be back. Happy for him. Happy for you, Tyson, and all the best. Yeah, that's it, really. That's about it for now. Just to wait and see who the opponent is. If it's Shannon Briggs, how does he look against Briggs? You know, what sort of shape is Briggs going to come in? People expect Tyson to blow Briggs away. If Briggs were to clip Tyson, blah, 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 blah. How does he look? We just don't know what to expect from Tyson. So let's just wait and see. June 9th, hopefully it's a decent opponent. And we will literally see from there. Right, those are my thoughts. Don't forget to rate, subscribe. As always, leave your comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? It's always great to hear from you. I'm out. Take care.